I'm able to see your presentation and I can hear you.
Yes. Right. So I'm the provincial coordinator
see
for
it.
And my slot is on the document 2, narrowing your focus. So Raven has taken you through how to come up with a project idea. Now, what do you do thereafter? Learner comes to you, has a project idea, now needs to continue further. How do you get the learner, or if I'm a learner myself, how do I get from a project idea to a realistic practical project? So for my presentation, I make reference to Raven's document 1 and the ideas that he discussed in his presentation. So I'm basically going to focus on one of the ideas that Raven presented, okay? My task now is to take you through the 5 steps on how to narrow a focus and how to narrow the focus down from an idea to a hypothesis for a scientific investigation or an engineering goal for the engineering project or an algorithm for a maths project. Okay, the pyramid which I am going to put up now will basically take you from that idea, and it will help to prepare you, prepare the learner. So I'm going to present as if I'm talking to learners. So this is the document that it's already been shared on social media, and Sagwadi is going to also share it at the moment, share it on this platform. So your learner has come to you. The first question you would ask yourself, step 1, what am I interested in? Now, these are where the blank spaces, these are where all the learners will put in their responses. So this is a generic, it is basically a very generic document that can be used for any project, any topic that the learner has. An example has been given to you on animal science and using bees as an example, right? So because an example has already been done, I'm going to use another example. I'm just going to quickly run through this pyramid with you and the different steps, and then I'll go on to the example. So step 1, I'm interested in, and the learner would put which aspect they're interested in. Step 2, they now narrow it down to what specific area are they interested in this topic. Step 3, what do they want to research? Step 4 is basically stating the aim, the hypothesis. Step 5, the research question and the hypothesis, okay? Now, taking you to the example, just going back there, just a reminder that the pyramid is generic. The 5 basic steps can take you through any type of project, solving any problem, right? Reminder there, remind the learners need to remember to record all of their work in their journal. They need to keep a dated diary, recording daily or whenever they're working on their project. So just a reminder there. All preparation should be done in the journal. Okay, step 1. I'm using the category document. I'm going to actually use our category list as a point of reference. From all the options that Raven has given to us, I'm going to look at using the category list. So I need to move on to the category list there and stop sharing. I will just move on to the other document that I want to share with you. Screen share, just a moment. Okay, I'm going to take you through the category list, our 13 categories. Can you see the category list? Okay, so basically, I'm using this as a point of reference for starting me at the Expo project. Agricultural science, I'm not interested. Animal science, no. Okay, biological and medical science. Okay, that one sounds interesting. I'm going through the descriptions there. I'm just going to run through. These are the 13 categories. Then we come to our category descriptions. That gives you more of an understanding of what each category is. So I'm actually interested in this, in biomedical and medical sciences. So I'm going through all the, the category descriptions, and I see, okay, food sciences and technology. That one sounds interesting. So now looks like I'm gonna take that as my project idea that I want to work on. Okay, back to my presentation, right? Okay, so that's where we are. I've selected to use biomedical sciences and food sciences, sorry. Now, there's 4 options in terms of types of projects. I'm just going to run through this very quickly. You might already be familiar with it. The first one is a scientific investigation where you look at testing a hypothesis. The second one, engineering type of project and computer science, where you're looking at the design, the build, design, test process, retesting, and constructing of prototypes. The social science projects that looks at studying human behavior using either qualitative and quantitative studies. And the fourth type is the mathematics and theoretic projects, which looks at exploring quantity, space, change, and things like that, okay? So I haven't decided yet what type of project I'm going to do. So now I'm just going to use another one of Raven's suggestions, the mind mapping. So I've just put ideas around food. I've just put down whatever aspects I've thought about food. You know, I've just written them down just to run through a few of them. We're looking at food wastage, energy from food. Perhaps what about using, for example, food that we throw away, or like banana peels that are thrown away? Can it be used to produce energy or something useful like that? Fertilizers and food. But what I'm more interested in is food intolerance and food allergies. So I'm going to do a little bit more research on that. So if I'm the learner, I'm going to do research in terms of food allergies and what are food allergies about, who gets food allergies. So now we go to step 2. Especially I'm interested in food, okay? So I'm looking at all the research that is out there. I can, going back to that spider diagram, research different aspects to narrow down what exactly I'm looking at, transportation of food, whatever, okay? Identify gaps around the topic. So maybe there might be a type of food or a type of beverage that I can create that hasn't already been done. This might come up as part of my literature review while I'm doing my research. Now, in my case, I've narrowed it down and I found a specific aspect that I want to continue further, which was the food allergies and food intolerance, which takes me now to step 3. I want to research, I want to know more about, I want to do food allergies. And then again, I need to ask further questions, do more research. Now, this is all, this diagram here takes you, is all the kind of research that I've done around food allergies and food intolerance. I've looked at, I'll just run through some of the aspects. I'm still at a point where I haven't decided what type of project I want to do. So I looked at food, types of food and the ingredients that cause allergies. I looked at causes of allergies. Can it be inherited? What makes people prone to food allergies? So if I chose to use this type of project, I could actually do a social science study, looking at what makes people prone to food allergies. I could look at whether within a particular family, how is, for example, the food allergies inherited within a family. Looking at treatment or alternative ingredients in food. If I'm allergic to a particular type of food, what are some of the alternatives that I could use? What about the cost of these alternatives? Okay, then the packaging of food, transportation of food. How can this process be improved? So perhaps with this project, maybe I could design something. I could do a technology project and look at designing a container or designing a truck that could improve the refrigeration process for food. The other one, labeling of food. How can it be improved? What about age groups and What about in terms of the age of people? Are they able to read the food labels? Here I was thinking about maybe a computer science project. What if we were able to take a photo of the food item, and there was an app that could be designed to probably give you the ingredients that could be possibly in that type of food, and list maybe the allergies that one could have, instead of us having to actually read the food labels. So right now, this is all part of my research, and I'm still undecided about what type of project. And I'm now going on to my next step. What is the problem that I want to solve, right? What problem do I want to solve? Doing my research, I actually came across food allergies related to gluten. So now this is where I decided I'm going to focus my project, and I'm going to look at the problem. The problem is that there needs to be an alternative substitute to replace gluten in wheat flour. So from this now, I can see the type of project I'm leaning towards is a scientific investigation. So I'm going to do a scientific investigation. Now that I've decided that, this is the type of project, this is my problem, I'm looking at an alternative substitute, I'm now going to still continue with my research and look at what examples of substitutes are out there. Look at various grains that are being used at the moment, currently. What are some of the substitutes under vegetables, fruits, and things like that? And the research would continue, right? This would lead me further to coming up with a specific aim. And the problem being that I need to find an alternative substitute to replace gluten in wheat flour, right? That's a particular problem I've decided to focus on. So the aim of my research, basically the aim is the main purpose. What is the broad aim? What do you want to achieve in this research? So I've decided that my aim for this research is to find out which types of food or ingredients can be used as an alternative, right? As I mentioned already, I will be researching the grains, the other alternatives, the cereals, the vegetables that can be substituted. For example, potato, sweet potato. There's flour made from cauliflower. These things I'm going to be researching about and learning more about, which will lead me to a specific research question, to guide me to something more specific that I'm interested in finding out, right? So the research question, a reminder, will guide me to my hypothesis. It is a question that doesn't require a yes or no response, okay? My hypothesis is my prediction. It's what I'm going to predict about the outcome of my experiment. In this case, I'm doing a scientific investigation, so I'm going to be conducting an experiment. I've done two scenarios, two examples, to show you how the research question is very closely linked to the hypothesis. And the hypothesis actually determines the type of experiment that you're actually going to be doing. So my first example, if my research question was, are vegetables more suitable than grains as an alternative substitute to gluten in flour? Then my hypothesis for this particular research question would be flour made from, this is my hypothesis. It could be different for, somebody else. Flour made from alternative cereals and grains such as rice would have more nutrients than flour made from vegetables such as flour, right? The next example too, if my research question was, which grain can be used, or which grain is a more suitable alternative to gluten in wheat flour? And my hypothesis for this one is more specific. Here I'm looking at lentils. Is lentils more cost-effective grain as an alternative to maize. So in this particular experiment, I'm going to be comparing lentils, flour made from lentils, to flour made from rice or maize. So the experiment I conduct here is different as compared to the experiment I conduct with this example. Flour made from, so here in this one, I'm looking at comparing potato to rice, for that matter, right? So this is just to show you the link between your research question and your hypothesis. Just a quick another example. If I chose to do a social science study that was linked to food allergies, and for example, I wanted to find out if there's a genetic link between food allergies such as lactose to if it's inherited, then my hypothesis would be that food allergies can be inherited. Or I could look at specifically which parent can these food allergies be passed on from, more specifically. Okay, so just some broad examples. Once you have the hypothesis, you've settled on the hypothesis, you would continue, the learner now continues with a literature review, because they need to identify the variables. As I'm doing a scientific investigation, I would need to identify the variables, controlled, independent, dependent variables. What are some of the resources that I need? The method, how will I be making the flour, the lentil flour and the rice flour? These are all aspects is going to be part of my literature review. On Friday's presentation, you'll find will take you through more of a detailed presentation on how actually to do the literature review. So I'm just taking you through the basic steps. Now the following slide, I can't see anybody else. I hope everybody can still hear me. Can I have a thumbs up from anyone? I can't see anybody else on that. Okay, perfect.
Are we here?
Okay.
Yes, you can hear.
It just feels like I'm talking to myself. All right, great. So
Now we can hear you.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm looking at using the pyramid again, narrowing the focus, but this time using it for an engineering project, just to show you. So in terms of the pyramid, where the changes come in is where all the red highlights. So this is where the learners would put in their own project. So now I'm starting here with I'm interested in engineering. Again, still I'm keeping in with finding a topic from the categories, from the category list, right? So I'm interested in engineering. Specifically, I'm interested in mechanical engineering and electronics. Narrowing that down further, what I'm looking at is the transportation of food, vehicles that run on renewable energy to transport food, okay? So that's my specific area of interest. Then again, I'm going to go into research. What is it that I want to find out? I'm going to look at the cost of transporting food, vehicle cost, fuel cost, the transport of refrigeration, all those sort of things. That's the kind of research that I'm going to do. Now, specifically, that will now lead me to what do I want to do, right? So in my project now, I'm looking at designing a new kind of vehicle for transportation of food that uses renewable energy to improve the refrigeration process. So during the course of my research, I might have come across terms like a Peltier cooling device that could be used using solar energy and having solar panels on the roof of the vehicle to reduce the costs and things like that. So this is where now it leads me to my problem. The specific problem is that some foods need to be refrigerated for transportation. Special temperature controlled vehicles are needed, and these are more expensive than your regular vehicles. Leading me, which now to my engineering goal. More specific, the engineering goal replaces the hypothesis for your scientific investigation. Now when you're writing out, when the engineering goal is being written out, I need to give a little bit of idea, some design criteria of what the vehicle needs to have. So here I'm saying that the design, I'm going to design and build a prototype of a refrigerated container, must be powered by an alternative source of energy that is more cost effective. So I've already got two design criteria. One, the alternative source of energy, and two, it must be more cost effective. So when I'm testing my refrigerated container, these are two aspects that I would need to test. I need to look at how cost effective. I need to compare the cost of my prototype to the current costs of refrigerated containers. And I would need to look at alternative sources. What are current vehicles running on, and how can now my device look at either using solar power, using wind and hydro, and things like that, okay? So this is why we need to continue with the literature review, right? So that it leads up to the specific design criteria, the specifications, the constraints, and so on, the methods. How am I actually going to design this? Looking at all these kinds, coming up with a particular design for the prototype. Again, I'm reminding you and learners that all drawings, all planning must be done in the data journal. So you are kind of now ready to start off with your research plan, right? Again, a reminder that the pyramid is generic. So those 5 basic steps that we went through here, it can be applied to any of the 5 types of projects, any topic, anything that the learner wants to do. It would take you to a point where you are now ready to start a research plan. And from my side, thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you found it useful. I'm just going to end that slideshow there. Stop share, and over to you, Raven. Raven, you are muted.